was a quiet morning in a small town where people knew each other. The sun rose slowly, touching the rooftops with golden light. On one corner of a narrow street stood a little girl named Mira. She was around 9 years old, wearing an old pink dress that had been washed too many times. Her brown hair was tied back with a red ribbon, and in her hands she held the leash of a dog. The dog was a mixed breed, brown with white spots, and his eyes shined with love. His name was Bruno. Mira and Bruno were always together. Every morning they walked to the park near the town's edge. Bruno waited patiently when Mira went to school, and in the evening he ran to the gate when she returned. He was not just her pet. He was her friend, her guardian, and her joy. Mira lived with her mother in a small house. Her father had passed away when she was very young. Her mother worked long hours in a bakery, trying to earn enough for food and rent. Life was not easy, but Mira never complained. She helped her mother with chores, studied hard, and always shared her food with Bruno. One day, Mira noticed that her mother had been coughing badly. She looked pale and tired. Mira asked, "Ma, are you all right?" Her mother smiled weakly and said, "I am fine, Mira, just a little tired." But Mira knew something was wrong. At night, she heard her mother crying softly. She spoke on the phone to someone about money, about bills, and about medicine. The next day, Mira found an envelope on the table. It was a medical bill. Her mother needed treatment, but they did not have enough money. Mira sat beside Bruno in the yard. She patted his head and whispered, "Ma needs help." "Bruno, I don't know what to do." Bruno wagged his tail and licked her hand as if to say everything would be all right. The next morning, Mira went to the town market. She stood near the old bus stop, holding a small sign made of cardboard. On it, she had written in neat letters, "Dog for sale, $50. Her hands shook as she held the sign. Bruno sat beside her, his tail moving slowly. He didn't understand what was happening. People passed by, some looking at her with curiosity, others ignoring her. Hours went by and no one stopped. Mira felt her throat tighten, but she kept standing. The afternoon sun was hot and her feet hurt, but she didn't give up. She remembered her mother's weak smile and the sound of her cough. Then a loud noise came from the road. A black motorbike stopped near her. A tall man in a leather jacket removed his helmet. He had short hair, a beard, and kind but tired eyes. His name was Ravi. He looked at Mira and then at the dog. "Hey, kid," Ravi said. "Are you really selling this dog?" Mira nodded slowly. "Yes, sir." "For $50, Ravi looked surprised. "He looks healthy and smart. Why are you selling him for so little?" Mira looked down. Her voice was small. "My mother is sick. I need money to buy her medicine." Ravi was quiet for a moment. He looked at the little girl standing there bravely holding her dog's leash. He could see she was trying not to cry. Bruno looked at her with loyal eyes as if he knew something sad was happening. Ravi had been through hard times himself. He was a biker who traveled from town to town doing small repair jobs. He didn't have a family, but he had a good heart. Something about the girl touched him deeply. He said gently, "All right, I'll buy him." Mira looked up quickly, her eyes wide. "Really?" Ravi nodded and took out his wallet. He gave her the money. She counted it carefully, her hands shaking. Then she knelt beside Bruno. "Bruno," she whispered, "you have to be a good boy. Stay with him. Don't worry about me." "I'll be fine," Bruno whined softly. He tried to lick her face, his tail low. Mira hugged him tightly, tears filling her eyes. She stood up and handed the leash to Ravi. Ravi looked at her. "You sure you want to do this?" Mira nodded again, though her voice broke when she said, "Yes, my mother needs this more than I need him." Ravi didn't say anything more. He took the leash and started his bike. Bruno looked back again and again as the bike moved away. Mira stood there until she couldn't see them anymore. Then she pressed the money to her chest and whispered, "Thank you, Bruno." That evening, Mira ran home and gave the money to her mother. Her mother was surprised and asked, "Where did you get this?" Mira said, "Someone helped me, Ma. Now you can buy your medicine." Her mother hugged her tightly. She didn't ask more questions because she was too weak, but her eyes were full of love. That night, Mira lay in bed and stared at the empty space where Bruno used to sleep. She missed the sound of his paws, his breathing, and his warmth beside her. She cried quietly, hoping he was safe and happy. Meanwhile, Ravi rode his bike to the small town outside the city. He stopped near a workshop where he lived in a small cabin. Bruno sat beside him, calm and quiet. Ravi gave him food and water. But Bruno didn't eat much. He just lay down near the door, looking out as if waiting for someone. Ravi watched him and felt a strange pain in his chest. He had thought he was helping the girl by buying the dog, but now he felt he had taken away her only friend. He sat on a chair, staring at the money receipt still in his wallet. He couldn't stop thinking about her face, her small, trembling hands, and her brave words. Bruno started to whine softly again. He didn't understand why he was in a new place. He missed the little girl who used to hug him every morning and feed him with her own hands. Ravi bent down and patted his head. "Don't worry, boy. You're safe here." But the dog's eyes stayed sad. The night grew colder. Ravi couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about what the girl had said. "My mother needs this more than I need him." Those words echoed in his mind. He had seen people struggle before, but never had he seen such courage in someone so small. As dawn came, Ravi made a decision. He looked at Bruno and said, "We're going back tomorrow." He didn't know yet what he would say or do, but he knew he couldn't just walk away. Something deep inside told him this story wasn't over. And somewhere across town, Mira prayed for her mother's health and for Bruno's safety, never knowing that both her prayers were about to come together in a way she could never imagine. The next morning, Ravi woke up early. The air outside was cool, and the sound of birds filled the sky. He stepped out of his cabin and looked at Bruno. The dog was sitting near the door, staring at the road. His leash lay on the ground, but he didn't try to run away. He just waited quietly, as if he was hoping to see someone appear from far away. Ravi walked over and said, "You miss her, don't you?" Bruno turned his head slowly and wagged his tail a little. Ravi felt a sharp ache in his chest. He had seen loyalty in animals before, but Bruno's eyes showed something different. They showed love and sadness that words could never describe. Ravi poured some milk into a bowl and placed it near Bruno. The dog sniffed it but didn't drink. He just sat there, his gaze fixed on the horizon. Ravi sighed and rubbed the back of his neck. He had to go back to the little girl. He couldn't keep Bruno like this. He cleaned up his workshop, packed a small bag, and tied it to his bike. He looked at Bruno again and said, "Come on, boy. Let's go for a ride." Bruno stood up slowly and walked to the bike. When Ravi started the engine, Bruno sat behind him as if he already knew the way. The road was long and quiet. Trees lined both sides, and the wind brushed against their faces. As they rode, Ravi thought about Mira's small face and her brave voice. He remembered how she had held back her tears when she handed him the leash. He couldn't forget the strength in her eyes, the strength that came from love. When they reached the town, Ravi stopped near the market where he had met her. He looked around, but Mira wasn't there. The same people moved through the market, busy with their work. He asked a fruit seller, "Do you know a little girl named Mira? She lives somewhere around here." The man thought for a moment and said, "Yes, she lives near the bakery at the corner. Her mother works there." Ravi thanked him and rode toward the bakery. It was a small place with a wooden door and a smell of fresh bread. He parked his bike outside and called softly, "Hello, is anyone here?" A woman came out from the back wearing an apron. She looked tired but kind. Ravi could tell this was Mira's mother. She smiled politely and asked, "Yes, how can I help you?" Ravi hesitated. He didn't know how to begin. "I met your daughter yesterday," he said. "She was selling her dog." The woman's face changed at once. She looked shocked. "She did what?" Ravi nodded slowly. "She said she needed money for your medicine. She sold him to me for $50. The woman covered her mouth with her hands, her eyes filling with tears. "Oh no, I didn't know. I never asked her to do that. She must have done it because I was unwell." Ravi looked down. "She's a brave little girl. I came here because I think she deserves to have her dog back." Just then, Mira came running from the back door, her school bag bouncing on her shoulder. When she saw Bruno, she stopped. Her eyes widened in disbelief. "Bruno!" she cried and ran forward. Bruno barked loudly and jumped toward her, wagging his tail with joy. Mira hugged him tightly. "I missed you so much," she said, her voice shaking. Bruno licked her face and whined happily. Ravi watched them, feeling a lump in his throat. Mira's mother wiped her tears and said, "You are very kind to bring him back." Ravi shook his head. "He belongs with her. I could never take him away from her. But please keep the money. Maybe it can still help." The woman tried to refuse, but Ravi insisted. "It's not charity. It's a gift from someone who understands struggle." She thanked him with folded hands. Mira looked up at him with teary eyes and said, "Thank you, sir. Bruno is my best friend. I promise I will take good care of him." Ravi smiled. "I know you will." As he turned to leave, Bruno barked once more as if saying goodbye. Ravi waved and walked toward his bike. But before he could start it, Mira ran after him and said, "Wait, can I ask you something?" Ravi looked at her kindly. "What is it?" "Why did you come back?" she asked softly. He thought for a moment. "Because I saw real love. Not everyone would give up their best friend to save someone else. You taught me something yesterday." Mira tilted her head. "What did I teach you?" Ravi smiled faintly. "You taught me that love is not about keeping. It's about giving." Mira smiled shyly and held Bruno closer. "Ma always says love is the strongest thing in the world." Ravi nodded. "Your mother is right." Before leaving, Ravi gave Mira a small charm he carried on his keychain. It was an old silver coin with a hole in the middle. "Keep this," he said. "It will remind you that kindness always comes back." Mira took it carefully. "Thank you, sir." Ravi got on his bike and rode away. As he disappeared down the road, Mira stood with Bruno waving until he was gone. She looked down at the coin and held it tight. It felt warm, like it carried the memory of a kind heart. Days passed and her mother slowly began to recover. The medicine helped and her color returned. She started smiling again. Mira studied hard and helped her mother at the bakery. Bruno stayed by her side, guarding the house and playing with the children in the street. Everyone loved him. One evening, Mira and her mother were sitting outside when her mother said, "You did something very brave, Mira, but you should never give away what you love most for money." "We will always find another way," Mira nodded. "I know, Ma, but if I had to, I would do it again for you." Her mother hugged her close. Bruno barked and jumped beside them, wagging his tail. For the first time in many weeks, their house was filled with laughter again. Meanwhile, Ravi kept riding from one town to another. But he often thought about Mira and Bruno. He remembered their smiles and the small home filled with hope. He felt peaceful knowing he had done something right. Yet deep down he wished he could do more. One night, while he was repairing his bike near a gas station, he found a newspaper lying on the bench. He opened it and saw an article about a local family struggling to pay for a medical operation. The family name was the same as Mira's. The article said her mother needed one more treatment that was very costly. Ravi's heart sank. He folded the paper and looked up at the sky. He had some savings from his last job, but it wasn't much. Still, he knew what he had to do. He whispered to himself, "I can't let that little girl lose her smile." The next morning, he packed his bag again and started his bike. He didn't know how much help he could offer, but he was determined to try. Bruno had given him trust and Mira had given him faith. Now it was his turn to give something back. The road stretched ahead under the bright sun. The engine roared to life and Ravi rode faster, his heart full of purpose. He didn't realize it yet, but this journey would change his life forever. And far away in that small town, Mira prayed every night, not knowing that the same biker who once bought her dog was now on his way back to change her world again. The next morning, the sky was clear and blue. Ravi rode his bike along the familiar road leading to Mira's town. The sound of the engine echoed across the fields and the wind brushed against his face. He had not seen Mira or her mother for a few weeks, but he could not forget them. Their faces stayed in his heart like a memory that would never fade. When he reached the town, he stopped near the bakery where he had met them before. The smell of fresh bread filled the air. He saw Mira inside wiping the counter with a cloth while her mother served a customer. Mira's face looked brighter now. She smiled as she worked, and Bruno was sitting outside near the door, his tail moving slowly. Ravi turned off his bike and walked closer. Bruno was the first to notice him. The dog stood up at once and barked loudly, his tail wagging with excitement. Mira looked up quickly, and when she saw Ravi, her eyes lit up with surprise and joy. "Sir, you came back," she said happily. Ravi smiled. "I told you I might visit someday." Bruno ran to him and began jumping around, licking his hands. Ravi laughed and patted his head. "You still remember me, huh?" Mira's mother came forward, wiping her hands on her apron. She smiled warmly. "You are always welcome here. How have you been?" "I've been good," Ravi said. "I was passing through and thought I'd check on you both." "Please come inside," the mother said. "You must be hungry. I'll get you some tea." Ravi followed them inside. The small bakery smelled sweet. and there were fresh cakes and loaves on the shelf. Mira brought him a cup of tea and sat near the counter with Bruno at her feet. Ravi looked at Mira and asked, "How is your mother doing now?" Mira's smile faded a little. She looked at her mother, who turned away for a moment. Then her mother said softly, "I am better, but the doctor says I still need one more treatment. It's expensive. I am trying to save money." Ravi nodded slowly. He had already read about it in the newspaper. "I saw the news," he said. "That's why I came." The mother looked surprised. "You saw it?" "Yes," he said, "and I want to help if you will let me." She shook her head at once. "You have already done enough. You brought back my daughter's happiness. I can't take more from you." But Ravi smiled gently. "This is not a favor. It's something I want to do. Mira taught me what real kindness means. You both changed how I see life." Mira looked up at him. "Sir, are you sure?" "It's a lot of money," Ravi nodded. "I don't have everything right now, but I can arrange it. I have friends in another town who can help. You deserve a chance to live without worry." The mother's eyes filled with tears. She placed her hand on his arm. "You are a good man. I don't know how to thank you." "Just stay strong," Ravi said. "That's enough for me." That evening, Ravi sat outside the bakery with Mira and Bruno. The street was quiet, and the sound of crickets filled the air. Mira asked, "Sir, do you travel a lot?" Ravi nodded. "Yes, I move from one place to another. I fix bikes and cars. It's a simple life, don't you get lonely?" she asked. Ravi looked at the sky for a moment. "Sometimes I do. But then I meet people like you, and I remember that kindness makes the world less lonely." Mira smiled. "You're not alone now. You have friends here." Ravi's heart felt warm. "Thank you, Mira. That means more than you know." The next morning, Ravi went to the city to meet one of his old friends, a mechanic named Arjun. They had worked together years ago. Arjun was surprised to see him. "Ravi, it's been so long. What brings you here?" Ravi told him about Mira and her mother. Arjun listened carefully. He didn't interrupt once. When Ravi finished, Arjun said, "You've always had a big heart. I'll help. I can give you half of what you need now. You can pay me back later if you want." Ravi smiled with gratitude. "Thank you, my friend." He stayed in the city for 2 days working with Arjun to earn some extra money. He repaired bikes from morning to night. Even when he was tired, he didn't stop. The thought of Mira's smiling face kept him going. After 3 days, he had enough to cover most of the treatment cost. He returned to the small town, carrying the envelope of money safely in his jacket. When he reached the bakery, Mira ran out to greet him. "Sir, Bruno has been waiting for you," she said with a laugh. Ravi smiled. "I can see that." Her mother came out too. She looked better, though still weak. Ravi handed her the envelope. "This should help with your treatment. It's not charity. It's friendship." She held the envelope carefully, tears shining in her eyes. "You are an angel, Ravi. I will never forget what you have done for us." Ravi looked down shyly. "I just did what anyone with a heart should do." That evening, Mira insisted he stay for dinner. They sat together in their small kitchen. Mira served rice and vegetables while Bruno sat beside them, wagging his tail happily. The house was filled with laughter. For the first time in a long while, Ravi felt like he belonged somewhere. After dinner, Mira brought out a small box. She said, "I made something for you." She opened the box and showed him a small bracelet made of thread and tiny beads. It was simple but beautiful. "It's a friendship band," she said. "Now you can remember us wherever you go." Ravi smiled and tied it around his wrist. "I'll never take it off." As the night grew quiet, Ravi sat outside under the stars. Bruno lay beside him, resting his head on his leg. Mira came out with a blanket and said, "It's cold. You should sleep inside." Ravi laughed softly. "I'll be fine. The stars keep me company," she smiled. "Good night, sir." "Good night, Mira," he replied. He watched her go back inside, then looked down at Bruno. "You've got a good family, boy," he said. Bruno wagged his tail in agreement. The next morning, before sunrise, Ravi packed his things. He didn't want to wake them up, so he left a note on the table. It said, "Thank you for showing me what love means. I'll visit again someday. Take care of each other." When Mira woke up and found the note, she ran outside, but Ravi was already gone. She stood at the door, holding the note close to her heart. Bruno barked softly, as if he missed him too. Days passed and her mother's treatment began. The doctor said she was recovering well. Mira helped her at home and studied hard. Every night she looked at the silver coin and the note, feeling thankful for the kind biker who had changed their lives. Ravi kept traveling from town to town, helping people wherever he went. But in his heart, the memory of the little girl and her dog stayed strong. He often touched the bracelet on his wrist and smiled. It reminded him that one act of kindness could light up many lives. But fate had more plans for them. A few months later, something unexpected happened that would bring Ravi back to the same town again. Not as a visitor, but as someone who needed help this time. Several months passed since Ravi had last seen Mira and her mother. He had continued his journey across towns, fixing bikes, helping travelers, and earning enough to live a simple life. But no matter how far he went, the memory of Mira and Bruno stayed with him. Sometimes when he sat alone by a campfire or rode through empty roads, he remembered the sound of Mira's laughter and the warmth in her mother's eyes. Those memories gave him strength when days were hard. One cold evening, Ravi was riding along a narrow highway when dark clouds began to cover the sky. The wind grew stronger and rain started to fall heavily. He tried to find shelter, but the road stretched through open land. Suddenly, a loud sound came from his bike. The engine began to sputter and stopped completely. He pulled over to the side of the road, soaked in rain. He checked the bike and realized a key part of the engine had broken. He had no spare part and no repair shop nearby. The nearest town was many miles away. He stood there in the rain, looking around, wondering what to do. He tried pushing the bike, but the muddy road made it hard to move. The rain poured down harder and his jacket was drenched. Then he saw a small light in the distance. It looked like a house. He pushed his bike toward it, hoping someone would help. When he reached the house, he knocked on the wooden door. A man opened it, holding a lantern. "Who's there?" the man asked. "My name is Ravi," he said politely. "My bike broke down on the road. Can I stay here until the rain stops?" The man nodded. "Come in. You're soaked. Sit by the fire." Ravi stepped inside, thankful for the warmth. The man's wife brought him a towel and some food. They talked while he dried his clothes. The couple told him the town nearby had a small mechanic shop where he could get help in the morning. The next day, when the rain stopped, Ravi thanked them and pushed his bike to the town. When he reached the shop, he recognized the name on the board. It was Arjun's cousin's place. The man there helped him repair the bike, but the cost was higher than Ravi had. He paid what he could and promised to return with the rest after finding more work. For the next few days, Ravi stayed in that small town, working at the workshop to earn money. He fixed old bikes, cleaned tools, and helped customers. The owner liked him and let him sleep in a small room behind the shop. One afternoon, while Ravi was repairing a motorbike, a delivery man came running to the shop. "There was an accident near the main road," he said. "A car hit a bus. Some people are hurt. The hospital needs blood donors." Ravi didn't think twice. He put down his tools and rushed to the hospital with the others. He had always believed in helping people whenever he could. When he reached the hospital, the staff took his name and led him to the blood donation room. After donating, he went to wash his hands. As he walked through the hallway, he heard a familiar voice from a nearby ward. It was a young girl's voice saying, "Ma, don't worry. Everything will be fine." Ravi froze. That voice sounded like Mira's. He walked slowly toward the room and looked inside. There she was, sitting beside her mother's bed. Her face looked worried, and her mother's arm was wrapped in bandages. Bruno was lying near the door, his head resting on his paws. Ravi stepped inside. "Mira?" he said softly. Mira turned quickly, her eyes wide with surprise. "Sir, it's you." She ran to him and hugged him tightly. Bruno barked and jumped around them with joy. Ravi knelt and patted the dog. "Good to see you again, boy," he said. Mira's mother looked up weakly from the bed and smiled. "Ravi, I can't believe it's you. What are you doing here?" Ravi explained how his bike had broken down nearby and how he ended up in this town. Then he looked at her bandaged arm. "What happened?" he asked. Mira said sadly, "We were coming back from the market when a car hit the side of the bus. Ma's arm got hurt. The doctor said she will be fine after a few days, but she needs rest." Ravi felt relieved that it was not more serious. He brought some fruit and water from the shop nearby and placed them on the table. "You both have been through a lot, but you're strong. You'll be fine soon." Mira nodded, her eyes still worried. "The hospital bills are a little high, but we'll manage," she said bravely. Ravi looked at her and saw the same courage he had seen the first day they met. She was still the same brave girl who cared more for her mother than herself. That night, Ravi stayed at the hospital to help them. He brought food, talked to the doctors, and made sure Mira's mother had everything she needed. Bruno lay beside Mira, never leaving her side. After a few days, the doctor said she could go home. Ravi helped them pack their things and took them back to their house on his repaired bike. Mira sat in the middle, holding Bruno tightly, while her mother sat behind them carefully. When they reached home, the neighbors came to help. The bakery had been closed for a week, but everyone was happy to see them return safely. Ravi stayed to fix the broken door and help clean the place. In the evening, when everything was done, Mira's mother said, "Ravi, you came into our lives like a blessing. First you brought Bruno back, then you helped with my treatment, and now again you saved us in our time of need." Ravi smiled softly. "Maybe fate brought me here again for a reason. Sometimes life sends us to the right place at the right time." Mira nodded. "I think you are part of our family now," her mother agreed. "Yes, Ravi, you have done so much for us. Please stay with us for a few days until you recover from your journey." Ravi hesitated but then accepted. For the next few days he helped at the bakery. He repaired the oven, painted the signboard, and delivered bread around the town. Everyone liked him. Mira followed him everywhere, asking questions about his travels. Bruno always ran beside them, full of energy. One afternoon, as they sat outside watching the sunset, Mira said, "Sir, you always help everyone. Has anyone ever helped you?" Ravi looked thoughtful. "Maybe not in the same way, but when I help someone, it feels like I'm healing myself too." Mira smiled. "Then we will help you now. You can stay here as long as you want. This is your home too." Ravi's heart filled with warmth. He looked at the small house, the smiling faces, and the loyal dog beside them. For the first time in years, he felt like he had a family again. That night, they all ate dinner together. The air was filled with laughter and peace. Mira's mother thanked him again and said, "You came into our lives as a stranger, but now you are one of us." Ravi replied, "I didn't give you kindness. You gave it to me first. You and Mira reminded me what love really means." The next morning, Ravi woke up early and saw Bruno sitting near his bike. The dog wagged his tail, ready for another ride. Ravi smiled. "Don't worry, Bruno, I'm not leaving yet." He looked at the rising sun and felt a deep sense of gratitude. Life had brought him back to this little family again, and this time he knew he wasn't going anywhere soon. But fate still had one more test for them, a challenge that would show how strong their bond truly was. The night was calm after a long day of tears and hope. The city lights flickered in the distance as Ravi sat near the small wooden table in his garage. Max lay beside him, his tail moving slowly on the cold floor. The air was heavy, but Ravi's heart felt lighter than it had in years. He had already spoken with Lila's mother and promised that he would return Max to them soon. But first he wanted to make sure everything was right. The next morning, Lila woke up early. The small house was quiet except for the sound of her mother coughing softly in the next room. Lila ran to her side and held her hand. Her mother smiled weakly but with warmth in her eyes. She had taken the medicine Ravi bought, and she already looked a little stronger. Lila brushed her hair back and said softly that she had something to tell her later. Ravi spent the morning washing his bike. Max watched him the entire time, sitting quietly as if he understood what was happening. When Ravi was done, he crouched beside Max and rubbed his back. His voice was calm and full of care. He told Max that he was going home where he truly belonged. Max wagged his tail, and for a moment Ravi felt his heart break a little. Ravi rode his bike to the small neighborhood where Lila lived. Max sat in the sidecar with a red scarf around his neck. As they drove through the dusty road, people turned to look at the big man with the large dog and the shining bike. But Ravi did not care. He only cared about the look on Lila's face when she saw Max again. When they reached the small house, Lila was outside watering the few plants near the door. She froze when she saw the bike stop in front of her. Her eyes widened as Max jumped out of the sidecar and ran straight toward her. The bucket of water fell to the ground, but she did not notice. She dropped to her knees and hugged Max tightly. Tears rolled down her face and Max licked her cheeks again and again. Her mother came out slowly, leaning on the wall for support. She saw the scene and placed a hand over her mouth. She could not believe her eyes. Ravi smiled at them both, his face soft and kind. Lila's mother whispered a thank you, but her voice broke before she could say more. Ravi shook his head gently and told her that no thanks were needed. Lila looked up at him with wide eyes. She asked him why he brought Max back when she had already sold him. Ravi said that Max belonged with her. He said that no amount of money could buy the love and loyalty between them. He told her that the $50 she gave him had helped him realize what kindness truly meant. Then Ravi took out a small envelope from his jacket and handed it to Lila's mother. Inside was the same $50. He said that he had earned enough from a small job he took after helping them, and now he wanted them to keep the money. Lila's mother tried to refuse, but he placed the envelope on the table beside her and smiled again. Lila hugged Max once more and told Ravi that she would never forget what he did. Ravi nodded and told her to take good care of her mother, and to always remember that kindness can change hearts. He said that sometimes help comes from people we least expect. Before leaving, Ravi crouched beside Max and patted his head. He whispered that he was proud of him. Max barked softly as if saying goodbye. Lila's mother invited Ravi to stay for tea, but he politely refused. He said he had a long road ahead and many miles to ride. As he got on his bike, Lila ran forward and gave him a small drawing she had made. It was of a man on a motorcycle with a big dog riding beside him. Above it, she had written 2 words in her simple handwriting: "Thank you." Ravi looked at it for a long moment before placing it carefully in his jacket pocket. He told her he would keep it forever. Ravi started his bike and the sound filled the quiet street. Lila and her mother stood by the door, waving. Max barked once, his tail wagging fast. Ravi raised his hand in return and rode away slowly, feeling the wind against his face and the peace inside his heart. As he reached the open road, Ravi thought about how strange life could be. A small girl had taught him more about love and sacrifice than he had learned in all his years of travel. He thought about the day he met her holding her dog and crying on the street. That moment had changed him. It had shown him that kindness could break even the hardest hearts. He stopped his bike on a hill outside the city and looked back one last time. The town looked small under the morning sky, but it held something big inside it. It held a story of love, hope, and a little girl's courage. Ravi took a deep breath and smiled. Some weeks later, Lila and her mother were doing much better. Her mother's health improved day by day, and she found small work in a nearby shop. Lila went back to school with Max walking beside her every morning. Everyone in the neighborhood now knew their story, and many people started helping them in small ways. Some gave food, some brought clothes, and some just came to say kind words. One afternoon, a letter arrived at their home. It was from Ravi. In the letter, he told Lila that he was now traveling through the mountains and that he had met many people who reminded him of her bravery. He said he carried her drawing with him everywhere he went. He ended the letter with a promise that one day he would come back to visit. Lila smiled as she read the letter aloud to her mother. Max barked happily beside her. The sun was setting, and the sky was filled with shades of orange and gold. The warm light fell on the small house and everything felt peaceful. Far away, Ravi continued his journey. The road stretched ahead, endless and open. He felt the wind on his face and the steady hum of his bike beneath him. The world was still full of pain and struggle, but he knew that kindness could make a difference. And somewhere in his heart, he carried the memory of a brave little girl, her loyal dog, and the lesson that love is worth far more than $50. That night, under a sky full of stars, Ravi looked up and whispered a quiet thank you to the world. He had found something more powerful than money or pride. He had found the strength of kindness, and it changed his heart forever.